Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. Today's program is entitled Financial Blunders of the Rich and Famous. So let's see how today's news may impact your financial future. Christmas Day is now less than a month away, and this year will mark the 5th anniversary of the passing of the man known as the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. Unfortunately, the legal team of the former hardest-working man in show business continues to work hard themselves as they attempt to fulfill his dying wishes with the extremely poor estate planning documents he had in place prior to his death. Nearly 5 years later, a final resolution of his estate is yet to be determined in probate court, mostly due to a controversial fourth marriage and an appeal of a 2009 settlement filed by two of Brown's former trustees. The appeal is currently waiting on the South Carolina Supreme Court, while his remains also wait for a final resting place. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. James Brown died on December 25, 2006, and shortly thereafter his heir started fighting over his assets. The original value of Brown's estate was estimated to be worth $100 million, and he wanted all the money to go to a special trust to provide college scholarships for underprivileged children. However, none of those children have seen a penny so far because he didn't update his will or trust during a questionable marriage to his last wife, Tommy Ray Heine. Brown fathered at least 9 children prior to his death and had at least 3 confirmed ex-wives. His fourth marriage came into question after his longtime attorney Albert Buddy Dallas reported that Heine was in fact married to another man at the time of her wedding to Brown. In 2009, the Attorney General's Office of South Carolina struck a settlement with Heine, in which she would receive a 25% share of Brown's estate, and his children would also receive 25%, with the rest going to his special trust. However, 2 former trustees of Brown, Adele Pope and Robert Buchanan, objected to the settlement and filed an appeal in hopes of getting a much larger share for Brown's scholarship fund. At the time of the proposed settlement, a new attorney named Russell Bachknight was appointed by the court as the sole trustee to manage Brown's estate and charitable trust. Bachknight then hired a professional music manager who was able to strike some marketing deals for Brown's music to be used in commercials around the world for products like Chanel and Gatorade. Bachknight's attorney, David Black, said that these deals have helped pay off most of the more than $20 million in debt and legal bills which have accumulated during the probate process. The good news is that students in South Carolina and Georgia could begin receiving scholarships as early as next year, as his legal debt is expected to be paid in full by the end of this year. The bad news is that Brown's ultimate goal of having all of his money go to charity is unlikely to be fulfilled. Okay, so now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. While Brown's case is certainly one of the worst in terms of what can happen due to a lack of proper estate planning, he is definitely not the only celebrity to make the same mistake. Last year, the children of former St. Louis Rams owner Georgia Frontiere, who died in January of 2008, were forced to sell their 60% stake in the team to pay for the huge estate tax bill that was due. Nearly a decade earlier, the family of former Miami Dolphins founder Joe Robbie was faced with a similar problem when he passed away in 1990. The Dolphins were sold to minority owner Wayne Huizenga in 1993 so they could pay a reported $47 million in estate taxes. Meanwhile, some celebrities who died recently should be praised for the way they handle their financial affairs. When Oakland Raiders owner Al Davis passed away on October 8th of this year, the media immediately speculated about the future of his NFL team. Davis left the ownership of the team to his wife Carol, who was entitled to a 100% federal estate tax exemption as his spouse. However, their son Mark is expected to take over the team upon his mother's death and could be faced with an enormous tax burden at that time. Raiders CEO Amy Trask, though, said recently and told reporters not to worry as there was a good structure in place to prevent the family from being forced to sell their beloved team. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? James Brown's failure to properly plan ahead has already cost thousands of children a scholarship. At the same time, Al Davis took estate taxes into consideration before he died, and his Raiders will continue to be owned by his family. The challenge for all of us, though, is that tax rates are always subject to change, which is why it is so important to stay informed and continue to update your estate planning documents accordingly. Although the federal estate tax exemption for 2011 and 2012 is $5 million for individuals and $10 million for couples, this could all change by the year 2013. The current estate tax rate of 35% could revert back to the old tax rate of 55% after just a $1 million exemption, which is where it was before the Bush tax cuts were extended. This is just one example of how important it is to review your estate planning documents on a regular basis and also work with a knowledgeable financial advisor and attorney. And now for Matt's weekly financial tip, tool, or technique. Steve Jobs was one of the co-founders of Apple and went on to become one of the richest men in the world. Forbes estimated his wealth at $7 billion shortly after his death on October 5th of pancreatic cancer. However, his legacy will live on through proper estate planning and the trusts he established. Jobs placed at least 3 properties into trust in 2009, according to Reuters, which helped his family to minimize estate taxes and keep these assets from being publicly disclosed in the probate court. A living trust is an important estate planning tool for many of you to consider. So here are the 4 main benefits of a living trust. Number 1 is protection. There are certain cases when beneficiaries are simply too young or too immature to handle the financial responsibilities associated with property or money that will be passed down to them. A living trust allows you to dictate when and how much of their share of the estate will be given to them. Key number 2 is management. If for some reason you become seriously ill or incapacitated and can no longer manage your financial assets or property, a living trust will allow your successor trustee to take over in your place. And there is no court supervision, and the management of your financial affairs continues without interruption. However, this can only be done as long as those assets are in the name of your trust. Key number 3 is savings. Beneficiaries of a living trust may also be able to minimize the estate taxes due with the trust, but there are also some additional savings. For example, you can avoid many of the legal fees associated with probating a will, and the time it takes to administer your estate can also be reduced. And key number 4 is privacy. Probate is a public process that reveals all of the contents of your will, as well as who your beneficiaries are and how much money or assets they will inherit. A living trust is a private document that does not get filed with the probate court and does not allow anyone to view it, unless, of course, the grantor or trustee gives them permission. A living trust is a valuable component of a comprehensive estate plan. As you know, no one has a contract with life. So to avoid the same financial blunders of the rich and famous, take action now to ensure your wishes become a reality. Be sure to log on to our website and download our featured report, The Truth About Taxes, a free report that reveals how to legally reduce or eliminate some of the taxes you may be paying today. And finally, remember that only you can control your financial future. You can succeed. You just need confidence and determination. I'm Matthew J. Reddick from Checks and Balances TV. Until next week, dump debt, invest wisely, believe in yourself, and make it happen.